Welcome to No Gods, No Master Volumes, a podcast by two pedal nerds talking about pedals, sometimes with other pedal nerds. I'm Simon, I'm a record producer, musician, and I make pedal demos as Tunnel of Reverb.
And I'm Gwion. I run Holy Island Audio, a one-man effects operation from Cardiff in Wales.
This episode we're joined by Zac Sweeney of Malaise Forever. Delivering knockout pedals since 2020, Malaise Forever is a one-man operation based in Ohio. You may know Zac from his fierce take on the percolator, Clubber Lang, or his collaboration with noise artist Gloomhead. His enclosures are unique and are lovingly destroyed by hand, with each looking like it survived a nuclear apocalypse. We talked to Zac about his processes and the company's history.
Let's talk to the Rage Monster himself.
Thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Like I was saying before, it's wonderful to put faces and voices to the names. Been chatting with you guys for a while now, so it's nice to do this.
It's definitely one of the, for me anyway, it's been one of the fun parts is talking to all these people that I've been talking to for years at this point, and actually because obviously it's hard to meet up. Even now, even since I moved here, it's still oh yeah, everything's real far apart in America.
Yeah,
so
sure is.
And so it's nice to put names and faces, and
that's kind of an Instagram thing though, isn't it? You just sort of get used to someone's username, and so many people where I've met them in real life and I'm like, I don't actually know your name.
Oh yeah,
which is really awkward.
Dude, I've had that recently. I play it's kind of turned into this fucking joke where I'll meet someone and they're like, oh, Tunnel of Reverb, and I'm like, yeah, it just makes me feel weird. I mean, it's awesome, it's really awesome, but I'm always just I'm embarrassed, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We recently did a Pedals and Pints event here in Ohio in May.
Oh yeah.
And it was just a lot of people, coming up and mentioning, well, of course, calling me, Malaise Forever, which in and of itself is kind of a new thing. Being at in-person events, this all started at the, very beginning of the pandemic. In-person events are still completely new. So I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to present myself and handle that. Cause it's definitely a weird thing being known for what you're doing online.
Yeah, and then I found I get to a point where I'm just I'll introduce myself and I'll be like, "What's your username?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we've talked about whatever pedal at some point."
Yeah.
How was that? That was because Phil from Catbox was there too, right?
Yeah, it was me, Phil from Catbox, Phil and Bill from Thimble Wasp, John from Rare Buzzer, Zac from Deadbug Circuits, other Zac from Zero G, and Dark Earth Devices. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot more bustling than we expected. Yeah, met up with a lot of really cool people, and it was just a lot of fun being able to do an in-person event like that. We really didn't know what to expect because stuff like that is not really all that commonplace in Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, it was just kind of really uncertain how the turnout was going to be, and it really blew all of our minds. It was great.
That's awesome. I'm it feels great that these events are starting to pop up more. I feel like the Chase Bliss ones and the Old Blood ones, I feel have kind of inspired people to get out and do them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's like you said, it's great to see. It's the whole landscape is shifting back to in-person things, and it's nice.
There's a bit of a DIY feel to that sort of stuff as well, isn't there? Where it's
and that's one thing that I really love about it. I come from the whole DIY scene, playing basement shows and pressing your own merch and stuff like that. So that's something that now that I'm a little bit older, I'm pushing 40 now, and I've got a kid and a wife, so I've stepped away from a lot of that stuff, and it's a great way to stay connected to what I felt was so important to me coming up as a young one.
It definitely that's one of the things I love about Well, just like the whole pedal thing is just an extension of that to me as well. Like
Yeah.
people trading stuff, people like even like people like sending each other circuit boards is awesome and just reminds me of like, but for me, like burning CDs and sending them to people and
it absolutely is. And yeah, I love doing that. I love trades. I love, all of those weird little ways of making connections, while putting ourselves out there. It can be hard to, put yourself out there to a certain extent. It leaves you vulnerable to the feedback. And, it's great when you are able to connect with other like-minded people who see what you're doing and appreciate it.
yeah, definitely.
Mm.
When did you start doing Malaise Forever? I know you mentioned like the pandemic, but what was like your start with building pedals?
I started trying to build pedals in like 2016, and it took a couple years for me to be able to do it right. I have this really stupid habit of trying to make things as like hard as I possibly can for myself. So like I tried to make an Acapulco Gold clone through tag board effects, which I was actually listening to Evan's episode before I got on here, and he mentioned them. But for all you DIYers, if you're not aware of tag board effects, the Blogspot website, you should definitely Google it. It's got Vero layouts of just so many circuits, and it was very instrumental to my early building. I would get on there and try to build, a fuzz or, an overdrive or something, like one a day. But anyway, I really started doing Malaise Forever April of 2020, like right after lockdown started here in the US. I was already planning to do Malaise Forever, and everything just kind of coincided. Like I already had all the stuff to do the first run of Golden Guillotine. It had arrived like right when things started locking down. So that was completely by coincidence. But yeah, I really started getting gung-ho into Malaise Forever right at the start of pandemic in 2020.
I think I knew it was kind of like a recentish thing, but I don't know, 2020 feels so long ago. I'm just like, oh, you've been doing this forever. And I'm like,
it's crazy to think that I've been doing this for 3 years now. It feels like it's forever, and simultaneously it feels like it just started.
Yeah, I mean, like, and you've had like quite a few things come out as well. And I think like I think most of what you put out, it's just like I feel like you've always got something new and exciting in the pipeline, and that definitely, it's like it feels like it's been a lot longer because of that as well, or maybe.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. That's actually something I've been feeling a little bit, I guess, a certain way about, because I know I've been teasing some other models for quite some time that haven't come out yet, and I'm still, working on getting those done. So yeah, it has been a whirlwind. It's been kind of a frenzy of building as much as I can think of and really running with it. It is crazy to think that it's only been 3 years. And I have I think 7 models now. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's definitely more than I would have ever expected when I started doing this.
So it started with Golden Guillotine. That was number 1.
Yeah. Yep, it did. And had a lot of help with that from Alec at Mask Audio Electronics. He did the layout, and he and I talked about its development while I was working on that, and rightfully so with his hand in it. It took off way bigger than I had expected it to. Yeah, the response to that circuit. Now I have the germanium version of that available with a different op amp and the germanium diodes as opposed to the Schottky and silicone combinations that are in the original one. But yeah, it's been unreal to think that the first thing that I designed, people have responded to it as well as they have.
Where did the inception of that pedal come from? Like how did it start? Was it like from a tag board idea, like inspiration, or? Yeah,
kind of. It was like I was messing around with the Distortion Plus a lot. And, I kind of wanted to tone control, and I wanted to see what would happen if you put a boost circuit in front of that, if that was really kind of just a moot point in terms of design, or if it would actually unlock anything cool with it. So it ended up being a dual op amp thing where it's, both stages of it are op amp based. So it's kind of a lot of the same flavor, but different frequency responses. So it really fills up in a nice way that is, I guess, complementary. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a reason that those sort of early DoD circuits are so what's the word? Well explored, I guess. Like there's endless sort of directions that you can take them in because they sort of start so simply. There's
exactly
not much going on. You can take it in any direction.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of like the fuzz face or the harmonic percolator. There's a beauty in their simplicity, and there's so much room to be explored within that. It's wonderful to get lost in.
When did Clubber Lang get on the scene?
Yeah, Clubber Lang was the third one. So that came out January of 2021.
That's good memory. I'd never remember when I release anything. It's all just a weird blur.
My memory is very selective. Usually it's crap, but for when it comes to that, I guess it's working.
It's in there. Yeah.
Mine's right here.
There we go.
Nice. Beautiful.
I was just like, as soon as I said, I was like, oh shit, I know where mine is. It's right on my desk.
Got the props to hand.
I was using it the other day. That's why it's right there. And that's had a few runs now since 2021.
Oh yeah, there's over 225 of those out there in the world now. Yeah, that's a crazy number. Yeah, again, like I said, I never would have expected to break 100 with any model. And I think I've broken 200 with the Golden Guillotine as well.
Are you still doing both versions of the Golden Guillotine, or are you firmly in the G camp now?
I'm always up for, like, if somebody wants to order a Golden Guillotine and they want the standard or the old version, then I'm always down to do that. But as it is, I'm very much in love with the sound of the germanium and the new op amp in there. So that's kind of the standard version for now.
That's awesome. Do you want to maybe break down the Clubber Lang a little bit for us? Because I did a demo of it. I don't remember when, last year maybe. And but I think it'd be cool to just go through a little bit of it, like where the ideas came from. And
yeah, so it's funny. Clubber Lang kind of came out opposite of what I was, initially planning. I breadboarded a harmonic percolator, and I initially wanted to make it, just as nasty as possible. And so I had a harmonic percolator on the board, and then I kind of had the same idea as the Golden Guillotine, where I wanted to put something in front of it, because I feel like harmonic percolators stack so well with other dirts, both before and after. But I was particularly a fan of putting it after something in a cascading chain. So I ended up putting essentially what's a Zvex super hard on in front of it. It's a dirty MOSFET boost in front of that. And the interplay between the two gain stages is a lot of fun. There's a lot of compression that can come with the increased gain from the super hard on, or if you dial that back a little bit and let the percolator stage do its thing, it becomes really wide open and just really full. And I took off the clipping diodes from the Clubber Lang, or from the percolator stage, and actually moved them to soft clipping diodes on the germanium, just to kind of give that a little bit more warmth. And the thing that people love about harmonic percolators is that they spit out even order harmonics, which essentially just means that it's really musical and just really great sounding tone. And when you put clipping diodes in there, you introduce odd order harmonics. And I felt like that, like I wanted to lean into the prettiness of it by the time I was done developing it. And so I took off those clipping diodes so it can stay open, remove that squish, and really just kind of sing.
The percolator is such an odd circuit anyway. Like it can really sort of like crumble in on itself when you push it hard, and then as soon as you dial back that input, it's quite an odd. It's like an odd voicing, really, isn't it? Because it's almost like ultra. It's that. Well, I mean, it is the clang thing, isn't it? It's the ultra.
Yeah, it's the clang and just the absolute strain of it. It just, it sounds like it's really pushing with everything that it's got, to get the notes out there. And that like it could collapse on itself at any time.
Satisfying.
I also like how you can, like, obviously it goes real hard, but I like dialing them back as well. Just getting that, like you say, just getting the best out of the harmonics. And I've kind of been surprised with like various percolators how I've used them on like basically clean guitar recordings and just but with just the tiniest bit of percolator, like whether it's like Clubber Lang or something else. Like I feel like people always think they're just like annihilation, like percolator is for like annihilation, but actually like it does that real nice
the subtleties.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I feel like the Clubber Lang is like a perfect gap bridger for the people who love overdrive but aren't really sure about fuzz, or people who like fuzz but feel like overdrive is just a little too tepid. I feel like the Clubber Lang is right in the middle there.
There's a few of your pedals which are like sort of expanded versions of classic circuits. Is that sort of design approach? Do you go into that thinking I want to see what this sounds like, or is it that you've got a predetermined sort of vision beforehand of a particular sound that you want to go for?
That really just kind of depends on the model itself. Most of the things that I've designed have been me chasing a certain sound, a certain texture, things like that. But particularly with the Rage Monster and the Iron Fistula, those two were just solid takes on, like you said, classic circuits. I wanted to make a couple things that weren't necessarily, the wildest, most difficult to tame kind of pedals. And those kind of circuits, the germanium treble booster and the JFET plexi style pedal, those were always big staples in my own rig and my own sounds. And with those two, I really just kind of wanted to pay tribute to that. Just, good, solid pieces of kit that are slightly expanded, but otherwise do the thing that you're expecting them to do.
I mean, they've got everything that you've released seems to have, like, I'm just looking at the names now, I've got them written up above me. There is, like, I guess you'd call it a sort of an aggressive aesthetic running through the naming alone, I think definitely has that sort of impression. So, I mean, I think people would expect there to be a level of aggression to the sound that these boxes are making. Is that an intentional thing?
Absolutely, it is. That's the kind of music that I grew up playing. You take a couple dirt pedals, you throw them on the floor, you turn them on, and you hit your instrument as hard as you can. And that was my approach to playing music, my approach to owning and taking care of gear, and I really wanted to communicate that with my pedals. Funnily enough, the idea of painting and stamping them all myself was not originally part of the plan. Finding the aesthetic that I have has really been an awesome revelatory process. I guess, because I didn't even realize that I, was capable of doing that kind of stuff. I've never been an artist. It was just, I needed to figure out a way to make my pedals look appealing. Back when I first started and had $0 as, startup capital, and just wanted to find a way to make my stuff stand out. And through that, the process that I have now was born.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's quite impressive how you, with recent releases like the Iron Fistula, you've got like external artists to become involved in the artwork, but it's still sort of applied in a way that makes it feels like it's coming from the same place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my drawing skills and stuff like that, they're not good. And I mean, I knew that I wanted to keep the process the way that I do it, because the results are just so unique, but they can be replicated at the same time. It's a lot of fun. So I wanted to be able to work with different artists, but still be able to translate it into, this medium with, this process, and yeah, still have it look like, my thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, it definitely retains that. It's like an oddly apocalyptic feel, I think, to most. It looks like it's survived something. It's
yeah, you feel like you dig it out of the rubble at Chernobyl or something like that.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Well, you see that and you're like, damn, if it still works, that's build quality. It's survived Chernobyl.
Exactly.
That's marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like a Malaise Forever pedal like straight away. Like you see it, it's you, which is awesome,
Yeah,
and
super distinct.
I'm glad you touched on that, because I was going to ask you about the art style and the paint. Like, what's your process for finishing the pedals now?
So I start out with drilling. So I'll get them all as, just bare aluminum boxes, and I drill them up, and I'll paint them as well as I can. Just use acrylic spray, and after I paint them as well as I can, I'll ruin them with oven cleaner and some other chemicals. Sometimes I'll use like a toothbrush to get like a different texture out of it. But after I'm done ruining it, then I'll kind of put some clear coat on it to help preserve it, and then I stamp over top of that. I use solvent based ink, and I'll stamp that on top, because I found that the solvent based ink will run a lot if you try to stamp it and then hit it with clear coat. Even if you give it a couple days, it'll still do it. And so, yeah, that's really my process in a nutshell. I've had a couple people ask me about that in my DMs, and I've been a little bit covetous, I guess, of it, but I'm realizing that I should share that process more. If it's something that people are really digging and wanting to do for themselves, then that's awesome, and I would love to help.
I mean, we can always get Simon to beep all that out if that makes.
Yeah, I can everything you just said about.
Oh yeah, that's so much more mysterious.
I really like. I guess if anyone's listened to the other episodes, I love to fucking censor stuff. It's so funny. I just think it's really funny. I don't know why.
It's nice to have hobbies.
Yeah. But I mean, that's cool, because they're all individual then. It's kind of like, again, that's how it's a Malaise pedal as well, is because, and knowing that someone's sat there and, like you say, gone at it with oven cleaner, made it individual. Every pedal is different. That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's what I'm really hoping at the end of the day, that love for the process, and, on all levels, really comes through in those. Because, yeah, I mean, just from designing the boards to populating them with resistors and stuff, just every single step of it, is immensely satisfying and fulfilling to me. And I really want that love to come through with every one of them. And it was something that I was actually getting away from for a little bit. I started to have my enclosures powdered and printed, and they came out incredible. I absolutely loved it, but I found removing that process, for me as the creator, just really changed it in ways that I wasn't expecting. And I really needed to get back to me doing, all of the aspects of it again.
I think that's fair. I mean, it kind of makes sense when it is such a personal aesthetic. To sort of outsource that could feel a bit strange, I guess. If you are painting them from the ground up and you're hand sort of abusing the cases beforehand. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
I feel like giving that up could feel like a bit of a shame.
yeah, and I mean, there are parts of it that, to be frank, I'd be happy to give up. When I stamp the same enclosure 20 times and wipe it with the solvent ink remover because I'm not getting it in quite the right place, I can't help but think that it'd be nice if it was already printed. But I mean, yeah, at the end of it, yeah, when it's all said and done and I actually get it right, it's so immensely satisfying.
Oh yeah. Well, we've touched on sort of how you were working with other artists for the artwork on the Iron Fistula and stuff. We wanted to talk about the constant ache behind the eyes, the collaboration with Sam of Gloomhead.
Yes.
How did that come about?
He and I just really, made a connection early on, like we were talking about earlier, talking to the people through Instagram about, pedals and sounds and musical interests. We really just kind of struck a chord with each other. And, we just kind of got to talking about making just a really disgusting mids focused fuzz, something that he could use to, really cut through the mix with different instruments and had enough, control parameters to really shift the sound. And it just kind of became an organic thing where I started developing this idea for the circuit. I took a bunch of different aspects of different fuzzes, like the Mossrite Fuzzrite. The way that the gain control is essentially a blend between two gain stages. I really liked that and kind of used that as the ache control on the constant ache that goes between just like a 2 transistor fuzz face output. And then if you sweep it all the way to the right, that circuit is also running into a complementary pair of PNP and NPN transistors to get kind of like an octave squelch out of it. But that just came organically from me making, I think, 3 different iterations of that circuit and just sending prototype builds to him for notes. And, we would do calls where we'd talk about what we thought was missing. And eventually the constant ache behind the eyes as it is today was born.
So that was done completely remotely then, was it? Then
yeah, he's all the way out in California and I'm here in Columbus, Ohio. So it was just, I'd make revisions and we'd talk about it. I also built that out on a breadboard. So there were a couple of times where I would just, do a live call with him and show him what I was working on. And then, once we would finalize it into the board design, I'd build it out and I'd send it to him for any kind of input.
Right. And how's the reception to it been like?
It's been really good. We wanted to make something that was reminiscent of a lot of different fuzzes, but at the same time, stands out on its own. And I think we did that. And I think people were really enjoying it for what it is. Yeah, it's been great.
The thing I really liked about it was how, I don't know, I think from what you said about Sam wanting something to use with different instruments and cutting through a mix, it really works on, I've tried it on drum machine, guitar, bass, synths, and it just works on everything. It's there's something for everybody in it. It's kind of an all-rounder fuzz pedal for me, at least. Yeah,
and you did a video, a demo of it, and you ran through it with pretty much everything that you could come across, and it was amazing. It's great.
It was one of those things, when I do those demos, I'll kind of try it out on stuff, and I'll try it on guitar first, and then depending on how I feel, I'll try it on other instruments. And with that, I was almost looking for something that it wouldn't work with, and I just didn't find it.
That's awesome. Cool. I'm glad that I could step up to that challenge.
I used it on my board for a while as well, as I'm kind of bad with like buffers or stuff, I don't really pay attention to them. I just listen if something sounds good or bad after a buffer. But I feel like I had it at the end of my chain for a long time, and it just like
That's interesting. Just as a explode everything sort of.
yeah, after reverb.
Perfect. Yep.
Makes sense.
Just for like fucking everything up, and yeah, it was awesome.
I mean, yeah, it technically, I'm the same way. It technically doesn't like buffers, but I'm the same way. I'm not really, I don't really prescribe to that all that much. And yeah, I like putting it at the end as well. Part of what I like about that pedal is, like you said, it explodes everything. There are weird little noise artifacts in certain settings, and there are ways to dial them out, but there's a lot of really nasty territory to cover. And if you're going to run a buffer into it, then fine. You know, that pedal was a response. I don't know if you guys recall this, but last year in 2022, Champion Lecky issued the End of Days Fuzz Challenge, where and it was just, you know, for fun. And a lot of people, a lot of builders came up with different explosive, you know, nasty fuzz sounds, just, you know, in the name of fun. And yeah, it was really cool seeing all the stuff that came out of that. I know Spun Loud did one. I know Zero G did one. Mask Audio did one. I'm not really sure who else, if there are other people that did End of Days Fuzz models. Love to hear about them. But yeah, stuff like that is always incredibly fun within the community.
Yeah, I dropped the ball on that one. I did start putting stuff together, and then life just melted away around me. So
yeah, that happens sometimes, doesn't
it? Yeah, it's the worst. But yeah, that comes back to what we were talking about in the beginning. It's that same that DIY community seems to just constantly drive the industry, really, or at least our side of it. I guess once you get into sort of the Electro-Harmonics League, it's not necessarily as personal.
But honestly, I was very pleasantly surprised as to how much my experience being in, you know, like a little touring band and stuff like that, like 20 years ago, doing stuff like that, just how much that directly applied to to interactions and the way that we do business. I was shocked, and it's great. I feel like I'm ending everything I say with, and it's really nice.
But it's great.
It is nice. Yeah, that's why we're doing this podcast, is because it's nice. Can you put that in the bio?
Nice.
Yeah, I'll put that in the bio. I'm going to bleep that out, and people can guess what you think of the podcast.
Sound like we've been insulted or something.
I mean, I'm just reiterating what you said, but the thing I love most about this is the community within the builders and the people that use them, and it's just that direct contact that you kind of lose, like you say, with maybe like, you know, I can't like DM Boss and be like, oh, like, what was the idea behind that?
Yeah.
I mean, you could, they just wouldn't reply. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know if I have many questions for Boss at this point.
Well, I'm sure you've spoken about this in the past, but the name Malaise Forever, I'm assuming that's a Simpsons reference, right?
Yes, that's a reference to The Simpsons.
And because I've just noticed that there's sort of like, I mean, Clubber Lang is sort of, I'm going to go Rocky. Is that Rocky? There's like a sort of film, TV references do creep in.
Yeah, they kind of seep in to what I do. I can't help it. My brain almost exclusively deals in bad puns and referential quotes, basically. There's a couple other models that I'm currently working on that also have Simpsons references.
Oh, nice. Yeah. You've got to get your niche.
Yep. Working on a tremopoline, which will be a tremolo.
Yeah, nice. Do you have a lot of stuff in the works at the minute then? Is that?
Yeah, I've always got things cooking at the same time. Like I said, I've mentioned them before in other podcasts and just in general, but the Operator Dead Post Abandon, which is a germanium drive / tremolo, I'm still working on that, as well as the lung splitter, which is a harmonic percolator into an HM2 style gyrator EQ. And also we'll have some momentary feedback oscillation fun.
Nice.
But with both of those, I'm kind of letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. I really want to get those right. With the operator dead post abandon, with it being a germanium overdrive as well. I've kind of been caught up on adding a pickup simulator in the front to help with chain order issues, so it can go in the front or later. So yeah, I move kind of slower than I did with stuff that I'm developing, but yeah, I've always got a few things on the back burner. Another thing that I found, maybe I won't mention that. Never mind.
Bleep that.
Secret.
Yeah, bleep that.
do you find it helps? Because obviously I do the same thing. Like I definitely am an oversharer, and I try not to be, but it's just in my blood.
You get so excited. I mean, you want to talk about it.
Yeah, and there's no one really around here that I can go and prod to ask for an opinion. So I do tend to rely on feedback through Instagram and stuff a lot, especially with developing stuff. It's kind of an odd balance, because I'm never sure if I should be ultra secretive about stuff.
Yeah, if you're overplaying your hand, or if you, I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, that transparency is not only generally appreciated by people, but people feeling like they have, some level of input and influence on the way something is being designed. It's going to be way more engaging and way more satisfying. And I think that is that I think that's a big way that, I, for one, and you as well, tend to really connect with our audience, and, show that we really value that they're paying attention to what we're doing.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, it kind of gives them, or gives people, an audience, I guess, sort of vested interest in the development. And I guess you do, it does feel a bit like it belongs to everyone then when it finally comes out. I feel like that's quite a satisfying arc of delivery. The way that people have watched that spawning from the very beginning, and they've seen snippets of it, and because I get suggestions all the time, like it does get relentless. Eventually I have to sort of tame it, because at one point it's like, well, I can't actually do everything, it's just not feasible. But it's definitely an interesting way to develop products that maybe bigger brands like Boss wouldn't necessarily be able to have. That sort of direct market research, it's just not there. It's so separate. I guess that's an advantage to being a smaller builder or a smaller company, is that you can have that direct interaction. I think it's a positive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think of it too, in a sense, because, something that I enjoyed as, a consumer before I started, making them myself. But like, if you're going to take the time, as a player, to really dive down, deeper into the gear world, deeper than your bosses and your MXRs, and really look for the people that are pushing forward the innovation. I feel like it's a great kind of reward system to let their input be part of that design process.
Absolutely, yeah.
People also love insider information. They like feeling like they're part of it and behind this. I mean, I'm talking as someone who likes that.
It feels like you're in the know. Something that other people don't.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I like seeing the process. That's just another reason we started doing this, is to hear about how people get started doing this and what the ideas are, and also how people use pedals. Everyone uses things so differently. It's kind of like watching Behind the Music or something, but just way nerdier.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I love too. Me, I'm not personally, I'm not that versatile of a musician, and I'm not really all that talented by way of content creation. So I like to trust that job to other people. And every time I do, people come back with different applications of, a pedal than what I would have ever thought to use it for.
Mhm.
And that in and of itself, right there is a huge payoff, and it really opens your eyes to it and kind of tells you why you're doing it and pushes you forward.
For sure. And like seeing musicians using your product that you've like toiled over, it's like, it must feel amazing. Like I have this, when I'm at shows or recording people, and people are using pedals built by people I know, it just, even from like a third party, feels awesome. It's just
absolutely
cool to hear people creating with the product.
I mean, it breaks that wall as well, doesn't it, of awkwardness? I think weirdly, the guitar pedal sort of world does tend to attract, what would be the nicest way to put it? Sort of more awkward people than average, or at least that's how I see myself. And as soon as someone's got gear that I can talk to them about, it sort of breaks that down a little bit, makes it less
It's a good
strange.
icebreaker.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, definitely for me, I know that playing music and being part of this world is, completely necessary for me to be able to express myself in any meaningful way.
Mhm.
And having other people that are equally, if not more excited to engage in that, really helps open you up in ways that can otherwise be difficult.
Definitely. What's next on the horizon for Malaise Forever?
As it is, I am just going to keep on, doing what I'm doing and keep on making pedals. Well, one thing that I would love to do is get myself and get my pedals out there more in shops around the US and really around the world, because, like we were saying earlier, people are getting back out there and being able to physically get your hands on something and play and demo it yourself, before you make the investment is, once again, rightfully making its return. So I think the next big push will be to try to get Malaise Forever actually on some shelves.
Mhm.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm just going to keep on just diving into the weirdest stuff that I can find and trying to make it sound as nasty as I can. I'm coming out with some modulation stuff, like tremolo, based effects. And I did finally just get my hands on a stash of PT 2399 so I can start messing around with delays. I've been hesitant to dive into areas where, at the time I didn't feel like I had anything personally unique to contribute. Like I could make a delay when I first, got started, but it would just be a clone of, something that already exists. I didn't have my own personal, flair to put onto it, but I'm starting to step into that world now as well.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. And what's the best way for people to find you? Where's your main outlet?
I'm most active on Instagram. I like to keep things as transparent as I can and as simple to access. But I'm on there, or you can contact me through malaiseforever.com or just send me a direct email, malaiseforevercustoms@gmail.com.
Thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thank you for having me.